How you doing, YouTube? Policing Pips here again for another Friday market recap. I'm taking my trades for the day, calling it, and going to work. So I'm going to do this review for you real quick and show you what I was thinking and what I saw today. Like I said, normally I don't trade very actively on Fridays, and this is probably the reason. I did end up plus about 170 on the day, so not a terrible day. Any day that's positive, especially on a day like a Friday for me, is good. You can see right above my head here, my Nasdaq trades yielded me about 345, which was just one move, and I took 4 trades. Ended up down 175 on the ES, but I was sort of happy with this, right? At one point it was down like 4, so to bring it back to 175 was positive for me. Also because I had the one solid trade here. Really the only drawdown was the first trade of the day, and then we're going to go into that now. Okay, so we opened the day, all the overnight made a new high, right? We're going to say, I'm going to actually zoom this out, bear with me, my microphone's plugged into my mouse slot, so I'm using the little touchpad. So the overnight session was pretty flat, and then it did run up a bit today around 4:30 in the morning. Created a just shy of the all-time high, and then it came back down. We did have the previous day close well below here, right? It was down around 43.62. So my initial thesis of the day, I did draw up this value box here. I let the markets kind of run around a bit for the first, I don't know, about a half hour or so, maybe a little less. I took a short position on the break of this, so I took the breakdown here. We did start to get a good move. I then decided to try and let it play out a bit like I did yesterday, and to no avail. Markets were pretty strong. Didn't want to close the gap. My initial thesis was it's going to close that gap from yesterday and push down, and obviously that was wrong. I ended up closing that one out down about 400. I stopped on the S&P at that point and kind of just let things play out. I did take one long position on the break of this wedge, and the break here, I saw it made all-time highs at that 4,400 flat area. I watched how price was kind of winding up again, and I figured if it was going to take one more move up to the upside, I did want to catch that and try and catch the break of 4,400. So that's what I did. I ended up taking the entry right here and took this run up to about 44.01, and I ended up I trailed it kind of tight because I knew where my break even was for the day. Friday, right? I'm not trying to lose money on a Friday after having a decent week, so I trailed up pretty tight. Could have let it run a bit more. I think maybe this will get to 44.05. The market does like round numbers, so it's still playing, but I have to go to work. Had a decent day, managed my trades well, and I mean, we did get this nice explosive move after we broke that wedge, right? So I didn't want to have it come back down and retest that wedge. I didn't have time to deal with that, so trailed it up. Took the almost $300 trade there. I think it was about 300. So I was down a little bit over 4. Took about 3. So I ended up down 175 on the ES. But me, that's not bad when you have your Nasdaq trade here for the day. Same deal. However, on the open, the Nasdaq did pull down a bit, and then it sat right at the previous day close. So it closed that gap very quickly. I did mention yesterday in my breakdown that markets did make brand new all-time highs. This yellow line was a brand new all-time high in the overnight session. So my thoughts were that the market does not like to have new all-time highs in an overnight or pre-market session, right? So what I did was I just waited till we got a break again of this all-time high here, because it pulled up. It did touch off on this overnight high, and it pulled back down. I ended up taking the long from this all-time high through here, through the overnight high, and then I started trailing. Obviously got stopped out well before this breakout happened. I didn't, like I said, once you start winding back up again, you might try and pull back off this overnight high and clear out whatever the inventory was, right? Because now this is a brand new high. We don't know how high it's going to go. Obviously now we do because we could see it, but I secured my profits, tried to get myself back to around break even, because at that point I was down about 4, so I brought myself right about to break even. And then on the next trade that I ended up taking was the ES trade, and that pushed me back up over to that plus 170. I did enter into a options kind of like gamble for the time, is this Fiverr trade here. I do believe in Fiverr. I use them for things. It's a pretty useful company here. We're sitting at this structure. I would like to get this to be, let's do it this way. We'll do active trader, and then you can see Fiverr here, FVRR. All right, so now you can kind of see it a little bit better. We have the daily chart here. Fiverr's all-time high, 336. I'm not looking for a huge move. I know I'm in another group where guys have been analyzing some stocks, and this is kind of not a lotto play, but it's not a guarantee. My risk to reward here was pretty solid, right? I'm only risking 2 to make 17, if that makes any sense. So it's a decent risk to reward. If I can get up into that 280, my spread here is 280, 300. That would close this gap. And who knows, they have earnings on August 5th, I believe. So I might try to get out prior to those earnings, because then you get that IV crush. Unless the earnings come out huge, we'll see what happens. But I don't plan on sticking around. If I'm up pretty good, I'm going to secure those profits and get out, right? So I'll keep you posted on how this option contract plays out, and anything else that you guys want to know. So I also, just so you are aware, I paid $2.25 per contract. So you can kind of do the math on it and see how that works out. And so if you have any other questions, how some of these option spreads work, why I took some of the trades with the futures, just hit me up, shoot me a comment on here, message me in the Discord, and we will talk to you next week, Monday. I will be live streaming again, so keep an eye out for that. All right, until then, have a good weekend, and peace out.